Sure. I was very compelled to do a study on immune function back in 2011, 12, because I had 50 years plus of records of patients who had come under care, and as they're under care wellness level, they make comments to me like, I no longer get colds like I used to. I mean, it's been years since I've had any bug. I just, it's a whole different picture. They're not missing time from work or kids missing time from school. They're just, one of the reasons I have had an RN running my office for the last 10 years was her daughters were in school with my son, and she was like, that son never misses a day of school, ever.
Right.
Never. And she says, what is she doing with him? And she came in, and one of her daughters had a very complex case that medically had been horrifically overlooked, that I nailed and got handled properly. And she's like, I want to run your office. I want to be a part of what you're doing here.
Wow.
So,
I've never heard that story before.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah. She was an amazing situation. But, she said what drew me to come to see you with my daughter was, what are you doing with your son? Nobody has that type of health record. But, Travis never missed a day of school, never took an antibiotic, never took an aspirin. When he was in college, he was surprised to find out what people use aspirin for, because the only thing he'd seen me use it for was to put in a vase of flowers that were starting to wilt, and I'd put an aspirin in there to pop up the flowers for another day or so before they went south. That's what he thought aspirin was for.
There you go.
So,
well, that's a good way to grow up, and obviously he's joined the practice now,
yes.
And I even see that he's speaking now.
Yes. He
And
presented last weekend.
maybe take a little bit of heat off of Mom, because you go out and speak in, I don't know that you ever say no, unless you're double booked is the only
correct.
time. But you are so willing to go out, share with chiropractors, help other chiropractors. I mean, and I don't mean just from training them in technique and so forth, but I mean, you're always reaching out to me. Do I know anybody that can help this chiropractor with
Right.
selling their practice or moving or helping
Yeah.
them with their practice through AMC or whatever it is?
Yeah.
You have a heart for chiropractic, but like similar to Dr. Owen that we talk about, he loved chiropractors.
Yes.
And you just
Well,
do that all the time.
He and my dad were very close back in the day when they drove to Florida to take the state board from Davenport all night with several other guys in the car. And
Yeah, and your dad was actually here some years ago
Yes.
with Dr. Owen.
Yes.
And I got them talking, and
Oh.
we got to hear some of those stories.
Yes.
Beyond that, we were in school.
Yes.
Back in the 50s and that, and
Yeah.
the car ride, and when you hear some of those stories back then, you realize that God had a purpose for these
Yes.
these gentlemen. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have survived all the antics and things that.
Well, there was a guy who fell asleep at the wheel
Yes.
in the middle of the night, but somehow they got the car righted and dealt with it.
Yeah, they went. I forget what they said. Went off
Yeah.
the road and came back on, and then I think your dad said, I was taking a nap, but I was wide awake then, and I said, I'm driving now.
Yes.
To get down to
You are
Florida
right.
to take the boards.
Yeah.
So, currently you and I were talking, you're seeing all this research and what we say, I don't need the research. I've seen this happening for 30 years.
Yeah.
I know that I know that I know.
Right.
And where we have some in chiropractic, whether it be the schools or the CC or whoever you want to put that blame on, but our choices over time have started to steer us away from, what your dad and Dr. Owen in the 50s were, why they became chiropractors and what
Exactly.
they knew as chiropractic and what you and I knew as chiropractic and when we were going through school in the 80s, and then what it is today. And it seems that the profession has, or portions of the profession or the government or whatever you want to say, has started to move us away from what chiropractic really is that we know and trying to redefine that. But yet your and I experiences and the newer current research that's coming out is actually showing no, exactly what you guys said is happening